Hello everyone, it's Coach Kat, and today I'm going to be guiding us in about 15-minute guided yoga for beginners video. So for our video today, all you really need is something to sit on or lay down on the ground. So if you don't have a yoga mat, that's totally fine. Maybe you just like to work on carpet today, or if you have a towel, sometimes people enjoy using those as well. So whatever option we have, we'll find a seated position on the ground to start, so we can have our legs crossed, or if it's more comfortable, they can be extended out in front of us. So our hands can just rest on our knees here, finding a tall spine. We'll find some neck rolls here as we bring our chin toward our chest. And as we exhale, rolling our right ear toward our right shoulder. Inhaling our chin to chest. Exhaling left ear to left shoulder, alternating sides at our own pace of our breath, exhaling to roll, and inhaling through center. Knowing if we feel a stretch that feels particularly good, we can always hold there for a few seconds longer. Rolling to each side one more time. Bringing our chin back to our chest and restacking our head over our spine. Moving with our breath again, we'll inhale, shrugging our shoulders up, exhaling to roll them down and back. Inhaling to come up, exhaling down and back. Moving slowly with our breath here. On our next exhale, we'll roll our shoulders forward and down, completing our half circle. Really trying to press our shoulders forward. We'll move here for one more breath. And relaxing, allowing our shoulders to release away from our ears. We'll bring our hands up off of our knees. We start to roll our wrists one direction. And rolling them the other way. Finding stillness. We'll place our hands next to us on our ground or our mat. As we inhale, we'll reach our right arm up and over, just reaching until we feel a gentle stretch through our side body. Exhaling as we restack our spine, lowering our arm. Inhaling to reach our left arm up and over. Exhaling as we lower. Alternating our sides at our own pace with our breath. Really focusing on keeping our sit bones grounded down as we reach across. Reaching to each side one more time. And restacking our spine. If our legs aren't extended, extending them out in front of us. Knowing we can have a slight bend in our knees as needed to find a tall seated position. We plant our right foot in as close to our glute as we can. We'll find a tall seated position, rotating to the right, grabbing our knee with our left hand, placing our right hand next to us. And as we inhale, untwisting, straightening our leg back out again. We'll plant our left foot as close to our glute as we can. Twisting to the left, taking our knee with our right hand, placing that left hand to the side. Inhaling to untwist, lengthening our leg. We'll alternate sides at our own pace again, really trying to make sure that we're finding a tall seated position before we twist to the side. Trying to work on our posture a little bit. So feeling the crown of our head growing up to the ceiling before we twist to the side. And we'll move each side one more time. Coming back through center again. We have the option to keep the legs extended or bring them back to a cross position. So we rest our hands on our knees. As we inhale, we'll start to press our hands down as we lift our chest up toward the ceiling, finding a slight arch through our spine. As we exhale, we'll tuck our tailbone, rounding through our spine one vertebrae at a time until our gaze is in toward our belly button. And our hands are really grabbing onto our knees to help us round a little bit more. So as we inhale, lengthening our spine, pulling the chest up and forward, bringing our gaze up, and exhaling while we round our spine, one vertebrae at a time, bringing our gaze all the way in. We'll again move at our own pace, inhaling to lift, exhaling to round. Really working on our spine mobility through our seated cat-cow. We'll move for one more breath. Finding our tall seated position again. We'll start to make our way to an all fours position. So our hands are under our shoulders and our knees are under our hips here. So we bring our hands slightly in front of our shoulders. We'll tuck our toes, starting to lift our hips up and back to down dog. Pressing our chest back for our thighs, floating our hips up toward the ceiling, knowing we can allow for a slight or a generous bend in our knees as needed here, helping us find our straight line. Then bringing our gaze up to our hands, we'll walk our feet up to meet them slowly, finding a forward fold. So we can let there be a bend in our knees to let our chest release, coming down toward our thighs. One vertebrae at a time, we'll slowly roll all the way up to a standing position. Bringing our head up last, meeting up tall. We'll bring our hands to our sides with our fingers spread wide, pressing our feet down into the ground. We'll inhale as we reach overhead. And as we exhale, sweeping our arms out at our sides, we'll hinge with a flat back, rounding forward into that forward fold. Again, we can allow for that bend in our knees. Inhaling as we lengthen our spine, bringing our hands either to our shins or to our thighs. As we lift about halfway, finding a flat back, throwing the crown of our head forward, pressing our shoulders back, rounding forward again into our forward fold. Bending our knees to plant our hands, we'll step back into plank, finding a straight line from head to heels, knowing we also have the option to lower onto one or both knees in our plank. As we exhale, tucking our elbows to our sides, we'll lower all the way down. Untucking our toes, we'll pull our navel into our spine to engage our core, squeezing our shoulder blades together, lifting our chest forward slightly to find a modified cobra. And as we exhale, lowering back down. We'll tuck our toes, pressing through a kneeling plank, and lifting our hips up and back to down dog. Pressing our chest back, floating our hips up, bringing our gaze to our hands to walk our feet up to meet them. Finding that forward fold again, bend in our knees. Inhaling as we lengthen our spine to find our flat back. Exhaling as we round forward. Inhaling, sweeping our arms out, unhinging with a flat back. Reaching up overhead. And exhaling our arms back down to our sides again. Moving through that sun salutation flow one more time. We'll inhale to reach. Exhaling as we swan dive forward. Rounding to forward fold. Inhaling as we lengthen our spine, finding that flat back. Exhaling, forward fold. Bending our knees to plant our hands and step back into plank. Finding our straight line from head to heels or knees. And as we exhale, lowering all the way down, we'll untuck our toes, engaging our core, lifting the chest forward. Exhaling as we lower. We'll tuck our toes, pressing through a kneeling plank, and lifting our hips up and back to down dog. Bringing our gaze to our hands, walking our feet up to meet them, coming into our forward fold again. We'll inhale to lengthen our spine, halfway lift. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhaling to sweep our arms out, unhinging with a flat back, reaching up overhead. Exhaling our arms down to our sides. We'll bring our hands to heart center as we find the top of our mat or making sure we have space behind us. We'll shift our weight into our right leg as we step our left foot back into a lunge. So as we find this lunge, making sure our front knee is stacked over our ankle and actively lifting our back heel up off of the mat. Holding here in our crescent, just a couple breaths. Keeping that front knee bent. We'll inhale. And as we exhale, we'll start to lower our back heel and open our hips up to the side of the room. Finding our warrior two, we'll keep a bend in that front knee. Our back toes can face the side of the room or maybe the back corner of the room. Our arms can extend out at shoulder height, actively reaching through our fingertips, squeezing our shoulder blades together. Again, making sure we're keeping a bend in that front knee. It's easy to straighten it out. And again, just holding here for a couple breaths. As we exhale, we'll flip our right palm up, tilting our arms back to reach for the ceiling. Our left hand can rest on our thigh back here. We reach up, reaching through our fingertips as well as the crown of our head, finding length through our side body. We'll inhale and exhale to bring our arms back to shoulder height. Bringing hands to heart center, we'll turn forward again and step our feet back together. Finding our balance in our left leg now. We'll step the right foot back into that lunge. Keeping our front knee stacked over our ankle. Back heel is lifted up. Feeling the crown of our head growing up toward the ceiling. We'll We'll hold strong here for 2 more breaths. As we exhale, lowering our back heel and opening the hips up to the side, keeping our front knee bent, our back toes again face the side or back corner of the room. Our arms extend out at shoulder height, actively reaching through our fingertips, squeezing those shoulder blades together. Holding this strong for 1 more breath. And flipping our palm up to face the ceiling, our front palm. We'll tilt our arms back to reach up, placing our right hand on our back thigh, left fingertips reach up for the ceiling. Keeping that bend in our front knee. And bringing our arms back forward again. Bringing hands to heart center. We'll lift our back heel to turn forward and step our feet back together. Inhaling as we reach overhead. Exhaling to swan dive forward. Rounding to our forward fold. Really letting our head hang heavy here. Our chest release. Finding that slight or generous bend in our knees as needed. And bending at our knees, planting our hands. We'll step back into plank for just a moment as we lower our knees down, bringing our knees to be about the width of our mat, bringing our big toes together. We'll sit down and back on our heels, walking our hands forward to let our chest and forehead release down toward the ground. Finding our child's pose here. Really feeling the stretch through our upper back and our shoulders. Taking a moment to check in with our breath, just noticing the pace. Taking 1 more deep breath. We'll start to walk our hands back toward our knees, sitting back on our heels as we swing our legs around in front of us. Finding room behind us to lay back, we'll scoot forward, lowering all the way back. As we find this place on the ground, we'll cross our right foot over our left knee, finding a figure 4 stretch. We have the option to stay here with our foot planted, or we can bring our legs in toward our chest, grabbing the back of our left leg. As we exhale, releasing our leg, planting our foot, uncrossing, and bringing the left foot over right knee. Again, option to stay right here, or we can pull our legs in toward our chest, taking the back of our right leg. And releasing our legs. We'll uncross them, planting our feet down. We have the option to place our hands on our body, or we can bring them to rest at our sides with our palms facing up. We start to come to our final relaxation here. We have the option to keep our feet planted, or maybe we'd like to lengthen our legs. Choosing whichever option feels most comfortable for us. We can start to soften our gaze on the ceiling, or maybe blink our eyes closed. Taking a moment here, checking in with our breath again, noticing the pace. Noticing if our breath is deep or shallow. If we feel comfortable controlling our breath, maybe inhaling for a second longer and exhaling a second longer. Starting to really deepen our breath. We can continue to focus on our breath here as we relax. Or maybe we'd like to bring our awareness to our body. Just becoming aware of where we're contacting the ground, noticing our feet, our legs, our hands, the backs of our arms. Noticing our upper back and the back of our head. Letting all of these contact points feel heavy on the ground. Letting gravity anchor us down. Knowing that if our mind is wandering, that's normal and that's okay. We can allow these thoughts to come and then allow them to go, either refocusing on our breath or on our body. We practice being mindful for just a few moments longer. And starting to wiggle our fingertips and toes, bringing our awareness back into our space. Maybe gently rolling our wrists or ankles. Starting to reach our arms overhead for one last full body stretch. We can plant our feet down on the ground if they aren't there already. We start to roll onto one side, maybe using our arm as a pillow. Taking a moment to thank ourselves for moving our bodies and for resting our minds. If our eyes are still closed, blinking them back open, crossing ourselves up to a seated position. We'll close out together as we inhale, reaching up. Exhaling, hands to heart center. May you be safe, may you be happy, may you be well. Thank you all so much for joining me. Again, my name is Kat. You all have a great rest of your day.